Okay, once you start, you can't stop and restart. Okay. Okay, now we're live.
Yeah.
All right. So far, so good. Now I want to find you so that I can add you just as a, a speaker. So presenter is Calvin Harold. Okay, I can see you there at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
So. Just waiting for something's popped up here. That's a conversation, all right. So what I need to do is I need to add you in the queue. So on this, you've got two screens in front of you, have you?
Yeah, I have two screens. Yeah.
Yeah. So the one on the left you add is a queue. So
yeah.
the next speaker you could just add there. So it's to figure out how do I add you. So I click on.
Oh yeah, it says to me add video or comment or content from below.
So how do I do that?
No, I can just do it from my end here if I click on add video or content.
Okay, go for it.
From below, share.
Apologies to the attendees who are having to listen to all this.
Share my window. So you should be able to see my desktop there, sharing.
No, not yet.
Just there. So I should be in your left-hand window there. I can see that it's sharing my desktop.
If you send that live now, you see the yellow button underneath it?
Oh yeah.
So that means I can now see your desktop.
Yeah.
But that's because you're a producer. So how do we add somebody who is not a producer, who's just an attendee?
So I'm guessing cancel, stop sending my content header, stop share. I'm guessing if you go into participants and if you get someone in there, once they come in as currently in the meeting and you got more options, then potentially, or if they have the invite like me as well, there shouldn't be any reason why they shouldn't be able to present like I could there.
Because you're listed as a producer now, you're not just a.
Yeah.
You're not just an attendee, but where do I see the participants? Oh yes, show participants. Okay, so we got Aidan, Ola, David, Katie, and Marion. Can you guys all hear me?
Are they in? Are they just invited? You can see we've
Oh, they're
attendees.
accepted. Okay. Currently in the meeting too. I'm just talking to ourselves.
But yeah, but there's 12 attendees you can see live, so I don't think they show up. Maybe they do. I can't see them.
I can't see them either.
Yeah, we've messaged Eric Rhodes, says he can hear us.
Who said that, sorry?
Rhodes says he can hear us, but then if you go into the Q&A, and there's no mic option, I think, for attendees. Neve is here.
I'm just going to contact the help desk to see if they can pop up. Hey, Aidan. I think you're muted there. Hang on.
How are you?
Aidan, how are things? Long time no see.
I know, yeah, too long.
Just trying to figure out the technology here. So we're using a different presentation format that we haven't used before. It's a live Teams event.
Yeah, I've been involved in a couple of them. They're a bit more complicated than the other stuff.
Brilliant. That's what I was hoping you'd say. Can you add yourself as the speaker, Aidan?
Ooh, let me check.
So there's, I don't know, can you see two screens?
I can just see one.
Okay, so let me click on you. And okay, I was going to send you live. You should now pop up. Okay, you should be the live presenter. Kelvin, can you see Aidan?
Yeah, he's popped up there as the presenter. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so look, what I'll do is I'll stop that. Oh, we don't want to end the live event. We just want to. How do I unshare you now? Okay, so I'll send myself back live again. Zoom is so much easier. Okay, so I'll just turn my own camera off. How can we check that people are hearing us, I wonder?
You can check in the Q&A. I think they can hear us, yeah, but they don't have an option to use their mic. They can only use the chat, the live chat.
Okay, so we can't have live questions that way.
No, it might have to come in through the chat, yeah.
Okay, well, that's okay. Hello. Hey, Gordon, how are things? An LIT login page. It should just be like Aidan O'Brien is in there. He has no problems.
Yeah, I just came straight through, Dermot, clicking on the calendar link.
Okay, just bear with me for 1 second. I'll check with Aidan and see what. Yeah, because. Okay, 1 second, Gordon. Hey guys, sorry, just taking a call from Gordon there. He's having some issues logging in. Aidan, can you still hear me? Yeah.
Yeah, I just clicked straight through on the calendar invite, Dermot. There was no issues.
On the calendar invite. Okay, let me just try that. Okay. Gordon, Aidan said he clicked straight through on the calendar invite. Oh. Okay, thanks, Gordon. Hey, David. You're muted, I think.
Oh, sorry. How's things? How are you?
Good. Do you have any hassle getting in?
No, I came in straight away. Yeah, I came in through the link. I just had a meeting there, so just popped off that.
Oh, that's okay. Gordon is having some troubles getting in, and there's no sign of Katie yet. So
I think Katie.
Katie's joining the quarter past. Yeah. Sorry, she did tell me that.
Yeah. No, the link just let me in straight away, so it was okay.
David, I'm just going to test that you can present here, okay? I'm just going to just make you presenter for a second.
No problem.
So you should be presenter now. Calvin, you can see that, I presume, can you?
Yeah, he's up there as presenter, yeah, so he can share his content.
Okay, so that's fine.
Do I have to switch it back, or is it?
No, I'm just trying to. I'm trying to unshare you here, David. Sorry.
No, well,
Just 1 second. Gordon's on the call again. Hello. Hello. Hiya. Hey, James. How are things? Are you having trouble getting in? Okay, because Gordon's having trouble getting in as well. Okay. Right. Right, bear with me for a second, James. I'll give you a buzz back in a second, all right? Cheers, thanks. Hello? Still no joy, no?
Dermot, you can call them, I think, on Teams.
All right, just give me 5 minutes. We'll see if we can figure it out this end. I've asked for IT help to come up. Yeah, we might just set up a new link or something like that and try and get people involved that way. I'll see what I can do. Bear with me for a second, Gordon. I'll see what I can do. Sorry about this. Thanks. Bye-bye. Okay, good morning, everybody. We have a few people in attendance, but we have a few issues with our presenters. We have a couple of guys who are just having trouble getting in. So I see Ola has just joined us. Hi, Ola. You're on mute.
Can you hear me?
Hi, Ola. Yeah, I can hear you now. That's perfect.
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for joining.
No
so we have
problem.
Ola, we have Aidan, and we have David, and Katie will be joining us at about 1:15. But Gordon and James are having some. Oh, Katie's joining now. Hey, Katie. So Gordon and James are having issues with the technology. I think they can join as participants, but not as presenters.
I had the same. I had to download the team, the Microsoft team, to be able to get into it.
Okay, so you were trying to join initially through the browser, was it, Ola?
Yes, that's what I did. I went through the browser and it just let me in as a participant, but it didn't let me in as a speaker.
Okay, well, I'll give the guys a buzz back and I'll tell them, I'll let them know that. Or maybe they can actually might be able to hear us. So Gordon, James, if you're there as participants, that's obviously the solution. So rather than what we'll do is we'll kind of work away here in the background trying to solve that problem. And in the meantime, we'll get our speakers. We'll kick things off. So what I said to you guys was maybe just 5 minutes at the start to just introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about who you are and your background in the sense of you're all obviously graduates of the sports management and sports development programs. You all went through the your 4 years here in LIT, and you're now all out in the work, all out in industry. So the whole, I suppose, the aim of this college to career graduate conference is the first time we're doing this, is I suppose to try and link our alumni with our current students, and to try and pass on all the knowledge that you've gained over the last couple of years, and in that transition from college to becoming a professional and looking for jobs and going for interviews and so on. So what we've got 6 speakers, four present, and hopefully 2 more joining us shortly. I think Gordon was the old man of the group here. He was part of the very first intake back in 2009 in the sports management, and I think Ola, you might be the most recent, I think. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, we only graduated last year.
That's right. Yes, we've got a whole range of experiences, which is great. So we'll give you 5 minutes each. What we'll do is we'll open up the session to Q&A. So it's quite informal, quite unstructured. I haven't asked you to present any PowerPoint slides or anything like that. We've had enough of that over the years. I think we can all agree. So I don't know. We'll go ladies first. Ola, do you want to kick off first and give us 5 minutes on your experience?
Oh yeah. So
hang on. Let me just add you, and I'll send you live. So you should be able to see Ola there now.
Okay. Can you see me? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I started in LIT in 2015, graduated in 2019. I was going into the course thinking I'll become a personal trainer. I was so into sport, and this is kind of my passion and stuff, but the reason I took business and sport was because, we kind of have 2 routes, business and sport. So in 3rd year, I kind of thought, I was like, I think I'm going to become an accountant. So here I am, 2020, I have become an accountant, and I have taken up chartered accountants exams as well. So I'm in the middle of those very hard exams as well. So 2 more years to go, hopefully it will fly. That's really it, like I just keep studying. So that's all I kind of have to say. I haven't stopped. Not sure I am. Yeah.
Hi Ola, sorry, I was on a call there recording. Are you okay?
Yeah, that's fine. It's just this is just popping up for some reason. I don't know why. I was just saying, like I finished college and I'm just still in college, really. So that's all I kind of have to say. Working away, but no, like LIT has gave me a great opportunity to work. Like the work experience really did its job. I got an opportunity to work where I really wanted to, and I'm still here since 3rd year college. So hopefully I'll be here for another while. Well, I will be, but just have to keep going. It's very tough.
Yeah, so sorry, I missed the very start of your presentation, so apologies if I'm asking you something that you've already said. But when you came into us initially, back whatever, it must be about 5 years ago now.
So yeah,
What were your ambitions then?
Oh, becoming a personal trainer, going into sport. So I was obviously when I was like, yeah, I'll finish that and obviously progress into more courses to become one. But I obviously developed more. I just realized that throughout the course, I have been more into the business side, and I was actually really good at accounting. So I said I might as well just focus on that, and I just focused on whatever I thought I was good at. And placement really showed me that this is what I wanted to do. So I'm just specializing into the career now. Hopefully now after chartered accountants, I'll be able to progress and specialize into tax. So that's when the time will show. Yeah,
that's obviously very different to, was it personal training you said?
Yeah.
When did you start to think that maybe that wasn't for you and that you were going to go in a different direction with your career?
I just thought something I was good at was actually accounting and the numbers. And even though in school they used to tell me that I wouldn't be able to be an accountant, I was like, nah, I will be one. So I just kind of like just kicked into me in third year. Like I wouldn't have thought about it in first year, second year, because I did really enjoy the first 2 years of college, especially like the best part I still remember. I think throughout the whole 4 years I did was the scrum, the Guinness World Record with Caroline. That was the biggest highlight, and that still comes with me. And anyone who I meet and I just mention it, and they're like, yeah, we know what that is and stuff. So it's kind of great, So it's just not only that I did sport and sports management and stuff. Like it's just more to that, the experience and just the variety of modules that I was able to take up. So that kind of gave me an insight of what I actually wanted to do, because I genuinely thought, just sport and that's it. Like the way I thought about sport was just, doing sport, team sports and whatever courses we did in the first year. But that kind of went in more and more. So that was really good. So that allowed me to just make my mind.
Because that is one of the, I don't know, maybe it's not a criticism, but sometimes people will say, well, what are you at the end of your course? Like, if you go and do a physiotherapy course, you can call yourself a physiotherapist.
Yeah.
In that sense. But when you come out at the end of a 4-year sports management degree or a sports development degree, you haven't got a title as such. Like,
what I tell people is like, you can do whatever you want with that course. It's so flexible. You can get into anything you wish. It just depends on how you really set your path out. Like as of all of us here today, everybody has a different path and job, and we're all specializing in something. It doesn't have to. We don't have to come out with a title at the end of the 4 years. You can come back to me in the 3 years and I'll be like, yeah, I did business and sport management level 8, but here I am, a chartered accountant. So, it depends just how we lead it all in the end.
Yeah, brilliant. Look, I don't want to get into the Q&A too much because I want to leave time for the attendees to ask questions. So what I'll do is I'd say thanks, Ola. And what we might do is we might bring in Aidan for maybe 5 minutes. So
yeah, sure.
Just 1 second, Aidan. Let me just send you live. Okay, Aidan. So I'm going to jump off here because I'm going to try and get in contact with Gordon and James. So I'm going to leave you fly solo there for 5 minutes, if that's okay.
Yeah, no worries.
Thanks, Aidan.
Good morning, everyone. I'm sure you're probably sick of everyone telling you the sympathy they have being in college at the moment, but I'm sure it's not the best time to be there, so definitely feel your pain on that one. Some background on myself: I'm originally from Tipperary. I had lived in Dublin for the last couple of years, working for the FEI. Moved home in the last couple of months because we're permanently working from home now at the moment. When I was probably in secondary school, I always had a very keen interest in sport. I naively probably thought at the time, yeah, this is something I want to work in without really knowing how to go about it. So when I saw the business of sports management course in LIT, I kind of thought, okay, that's a perfect combination of, if the sport thing doesn't work out, then at least you can always fall back on the business degree. So I would have started in 2012 and graduated in 2016. When I started first, and probably all throughout the 4 years in LIT, coaching would have been my kind of biggest passion. The sports coaching and development program wouldn't have started in 2012. If it had, I probably would have done that one originally. And all through the 4 years, I would have done a lot of coaching with my own local club, with leagues, with kind of FAI elite youth groups and so on. So I would have met a huge amount of people through that and built up a pretty big network. So when I finished in 2016, I was pretty fortunate. I got a job in the FAI 3 months after finishing my exams, which was great. It was probably, I always knew that's where I wanted to work, and football would have been probably my biggest, the sport I would have been, had a keen interest in during that time. So the first role that I went into was in sponsorship and events, which definitely at the time was the furthest thing that I wanted to do. And I remember someone sent me the link for the job, and I kind of said, oh, I'm not really sure if that's something I'd have any interest in, because I always wanted to get back into a football or a coaching role. And it's interesting of kind of what Ola said of what she wanted to do changed during college. It only really changed for me after I started working in the FEI and realised, okay, the business side is something that I have a much bigger interest in. And probably in the 4 years that I've been working there, prior to that, I would have done 5-6 coaching sessions of football a week, and now I'd say I haven't done any in 2 or 3 years. And I definitely know that the business side is something that I want to, where I definitely see my kind of short to medium to long term even future in. So that's kind of how things have developed over time. I suppose I've worked in a variety of roles since. I worked for UEFA for a couple of years on the Euro 2020 project. Might come back to that maybe in the questions. Obviously, that was postponed this summer and is now taking place next year. So I'm back working on that at the moment, and different project roles in the association over the 4 years. It's been an interesting experience. In the 4 years, probably gotten 10 years experience that you might get in other roles or other organizations, just because of the broad spectrum of things that we do. And definitely the experience that I got in LIT, while you might think, oh, I'm doing this module in events or finance or law, you might think at the time, what are they actually going to contribute and add up to in 4 years? But they do. And it's probably only it's definitely taken me a couple of years to realize all those small little building blocks, they actually build into your own kind of personal project and your own career, which is definitely hard to see when you're there doing them, but do contribute to something in the end. So yeah, that's kind of it, Dermot.
Aidan, thanks a million. Appreciate it. Okay, so Katie, will we bring you in next? Hi, Katie, we can see you there now. Thanks for joining.
Oh, sorry, my mic was muted. No problem. So just kind of about my experience then and how I got into the Business Studies and Sports Management course. Well, in school, I always say this in my school presentations as well. In school, I was just, my 2 best subjects, well, we didn't have sport as a subject, but my 2 best things in school were sport and business. So I knew when I was looking through the CAO and what kind of courses I wanted to do, that the Business Studies and Sports Management course really just stood out for me. I always wanted to be a PE teacher when I came from school as well. So that was like a big aspiration of mine when I was in school, but the points and stuff like that were just crazy. But then when I seen the business and sports course, like I was very good at business in school. It was one of my highest subjects. So I kind of always knew that I liked that area. So when this sport, it's just such a broad area as well. So I knew that there was going to be a lot of opportunities in the course when I came into it. But yeah, I did the 4 years of Business Studies, 4 years course. Absolutely enjoyed every single bit of the 4 years. I came in 2014 and graduated in 2018. I decided then, I did my placement in the Limerick Sports Partnership in 3rd year, and I thoroughly enjoyed working with the Limerick Sports Partnership, and I thought that the sport was definitely the way I was going. I worked with so many different areas. So I worked with people with disabilities, older adults, children. You know, I got to work in a very broad area when I worked with the Limerick Sports Partnership. And I just thought, yeah, sport was definitely where I was going to go down. We got all our sports coaching certificates. As Aidan was saying there, like we got doing the events and the communication and everything. And it was just something that I really enjoyed. But as I graduated then, I decided I went to go and do a master's in marketing and management strategy. And funnily enough, I was back at my own school recently doing a school presentation. So after I finished the master's, I got a job in the marketing department in LIT. So I'm still here, but my school teacher, my principal in my school, actually asked me, do pigs fly, he said, when I told him that I went to do a master's and then got the job in LIT. And it's just because, you know, he never thought that I'd go on and do that much education and stuff, because I was always very into sport, and, you know, like, in some ways my academics would have come as a second to sport. So when he said do pigs fly, I started laughing. But yeah, so I've been in LIT now for 7 years, and yeah, still here, still flying the flag.
Thanks, Katie.
No problem.
For what it's worth, there's something you were just talking there, and I remember we had an event when you were in 1st year. It was kind of a sport for the disability sport event, we brought in, kind of guests, not presenters as such, but kind of guest coaches from different sports. And I remember yourself and Claire. Do you remember this? There was a guy turned up. I think he was doing, was it frisbee or something like that?
Yes, yeah, I remember him well.
He wasn't he wasn't brilliant at his job, shall we say. And I think you guys were all kind of losing the interest, and I knew I was losing the group. So I said to yourself and Claire, any chance you'll just jump in, and you can't be any worse than this guy, because I was having to kind of navigate between different groups. I said, just do the best you can. I came back 10 or 15 minutes later. You had the whole group eating out of the palm of your hand. And I thought, well, these two women, they're going to go places, so even if your teacher didn't spot your potential, I certainly did very early on.
Dermot, that was definitely one of the areas I enjoyed the most when I went to the Limerick Sports Partnership. I got into working a lot with the disability area. So like whether it was people maybe in wheelchairs or they had MS, we went into swimming pools, autism, all these different areas. That was actually the area that I enjoyed the most when I went on my work placement, was working with the people with disabilities. And it kind of all spruced from probably that day working with them kids. And these kids were deaf. They were deaf, and that group that we had, and I remember me and Claire looking at each other going, oh my God, like how are we going to work with these kids, because they can't hear us. And once we got into it and showed them how to do it, like it's such a great feeling, that kind of way, just to know that we took control of a group that couldn't hear us, and they had the most amazing time then with us for however long they were with us. So it was definitely, and that's a real area that I have a massive interest in, as well as working with people with disabilities. And it all kind of came from that day.
Oh, that's great to hear. Yeah, so there you go. Out of necessity came something inspirational. So that's nice to hear. Thanks a million, Katie. We'll come back to you in a few minutes then if people have a few questions for you. Okay, David, your big moment.
Perfect. Thanks, Robert.
I'll share your screen there, so people should be able to see you now. Okay,
Perfect.
David, off you go.
I suppose I'll start off where I am now. I kind of, like Kate, I'm in the LIT marketing office as well, but I'm in a sports marketing role, or I should have been in a sports marketing role. I'll probably come back to that near the end, but again, I'm from Ennis, and when I did the Leaving Cert, I didn't have a clue what I wanted to do. I really didn't. So I kind of followed my friends like a lot of Leaving Certs do, and I went to university and did arts. And from minute one, I probably hated the place, just because I need a real structure to my day, and I like to build my day around a structure. And that's probably something that you probably learn in college, but I suppose in LIT, it's kind of, the lectures are so helpful. They're like teachers to a certain degree, and that in university there's 300 people inside a lecture, and you're literally just a number. And I found that very hard, because you're in the back of the class. If you don't understand something, you can't ask the question. But I passed first year, probably don't know how I did that, but came to second year, and I was like, will I leave? And I had to think about the consequences of leaving. We say on my family behalf and on my own behalf, in terms of paying accommodation to get me through education. So I said, no, I passed it, I'll stick on for a second year. So again, went through second year, passed that as well, and I've only 1 year left. And I suppose that's when I made the decision to leave the university and think about, I'm not enjoying it, I hate every minute of it. Why am I putting myself through this when I should go and do something that I actually enjoy? And I suppose thinking back, what I enjoy in terms of education or in life is sport is one, and the business side of things is another thing I enjoy. So yes, I made a decision to jump out of college after 2 years, 2 successful years in terms of passing the grades, and go look for something that I want to enjoy. I wanted to push on in my life. So I seen the business and sports management course in LIT, and I was like, yes, the fit seems perfect. So jumped back into that, and I wasn't even able to get a pass to go into second year, but so again into first year and starting again from in first year for a 4-year course, I was like, what am I doing? And probably mom and dad at home are like, what are you doing as well? But again, they left the decision up to me. I suppose they always asked one thing was, like Dermot was saying earlier, like when you finish the course, what will you be? Like mom went to college, she was going for a chef. She came out as a chef. Dad went to college, he was going to be an electrician. He came out as an electrician. I'm going to college and I'm coming out with a degree, not a job title at the end of it. So I suppose when got through the 4 years successfully again, I suppose with the help of Katie, I was happy to have Katie in my class. But then, yeah, I got my degree in 2018, I think, and I was like, what am I going to do now? So I actually got a job as a sales advertising in a local newspaper in Clare. And again, I started that and I was there 3 months and I was like, I was trying to think further down the line, a long-term plan and what's my career going to be in the long term. And I was like, okay, I built up as many connections as I could within the 3 months I was working in the Clare Champion as sales, because that's the one thing I was doing, meeting people, meeting new people and building connections. But then the opportunity came of doing a master's like Katie did, the marketing and management master's in LIT again. And I was thinking, everyone's kind of coming out of college with a level 7 or a level 8 degree. And how do I put myself ahead of them in terms of education, going for a job or even going for a promote? Like, in my opinion, I don't know did the masters help me get my job, but I think down the line it might help me to get a promotion or to help me move up the ladder in a position. And so I went back and did the masters, and I completed that in 2019. So then, as you're doing you have the summer to complete your dissertation, and that's what I was doing. And during that, you kind of look and see job openings and what was coming up. I kind of applied to a couple of things that I thought I'd be interested in, and then I seen the position in LIT come up, the sports marketing officer. So I was like, yes, that suits me perfect. I just did a master's in marketing. Business is what I like. Sport is what I like. Combining both of them together, it seemed like the perfect opportunity. So again, I was successful with that. And again, the first kind of 6 months from September to January was kind of learning the ropes, learning the basics of what the marketing team does in LIT before I kind of branch out into the sports marketing. So then I was kind of beginning to, January and February, I was kind of beginning to do that, going into promoting our sports scholarships at the start, organising and holding the sports scholarship event for the LIT students. And then bang, the coronavirus came in March, and that put a stop to all sports. So again, just when I was getting going in the sports marketing side of things, that was kind of pulled from under me, and I was kind of back into just marketing communications officer. But I think the one benefit of that is the exposure I got to every other part of the LIT marketing department. So I've been doing a small bit of social media, small bit of school liaison with Katie, and website content. Like, it's given me a kind of full tutorial of learnings that I probably mightn't have got straight away if I was still only doing sports marketing side of things. I suppose that's where I am today.
Great stuff. Thanks, David.
Cheers, Dermot.
Okay, so I've kind of said that we'd kind of let the guys introduce themselves until about 12:30 or 11:30. Sorry, that's where we are now. My PC hasn't updated from summertime yet, so I'm still on summertime. Okay, so I can't figure out how to get Gordon and James into the meeting, unfortunately. I think they're there in the background as attendees, but they're not able to contribute to. Sorry, I should take David off now so you can put myself in. There you go. So I can't figure out how to get Gordon and James in as presenters, unfortunately. So I'm really sorry about that. Thanks to the guys for making the effort to come along. I am waiting for IT support to come up. So if they're up in the next few minutes, we might be able to figure that one out. But in the meantime, we'll crack on with the 4 we have now. I know Aidan has to leave at 12. I think that's correct, isn't it? For another meeting. So what we'll do is we'll open up the session to Q&A. So you should be able to add questions into the Q&A. I put one up there just a minute ago. I put a comment in there. If you can add your questions in there. So this can be about anything, whether it's work related, attending interviews, CV preparation, time at college, work placement, anything you want to know. Now is your chance to kind of fire some of those questions at our presenters. Let's see if anything has come in. In the meantime, Kelvin and Sorsha, I see you there as well. Have you anything you want to ask or anything you want to contribute? You can talk about your own careers as well if you'd like to.
No, I'm good. I've seen there Cian has a couple of questions that have come in there at the bottom.
Okay. They're not showing up on my screen. So would you mind reading those out, Kelvin?
Yeah, I can do, yeah. So
Thanks.
Cian's first one was to do with the community. They're obviously doing their community sports development course and sports development coaching, and he's wondering what the options are after kind of 2, 3 and 4 years, other than the obvious things, for example, gym work. And he has a second question for Katie, whether she'd go back and work in the disability sector because it's something he's interested in doing himself.
Okay, so maybe we'll just deal with that last one first, Katie. I'll pop you up on screen.
Yeah.
The question about working in the disability sector.
So the answer straight away to that question would be yeah. So like the disability area is, for me, it was just such a satisfying job to be in. Definitely, I don't know what year you're in, but if you go on to do your placement in your 3rd year, definitely look into something maybe like the Limerick or the any sports partnerships, and look at maybe working with the disability area to see, do you like it? It's a tough job in the fact that, you know, you constantly have to adapt depending on the people that you're working with, you know, because it could be physical or mental, you know. So there's loads of different areas that you can work it within the disability area, but all the more satisfying, you know, just to see that smile on their face. I remember a time when I was working with the Limerick Sports Partnership, we have that link with LIT, and the students in 1st year, they brought in these people with disabilities, physical disabilities, into the gym, and I was kind of their supervisor. I don't know, Dermot, if you remember this. I don't know if it was with you or not, but I was the supervisor of the 1st year group, and there was this guy that came in, and he was had a physical disability, but he couldn't move much at all, you know. His hands were kind of here, but I remember I took him for the 6 weeks just on my own, because he was it was very tough, you know, for the 1st year, just getting used to it. But I remember he had these 2 little weights, and they were only 2 kgs each, and all he did was this, up and down for the whole 6 weeks. He came in every single week, and to say he absolutely loved it was an understatement. He did not want to leave, and he didn't have much speech or anything. He did not want to leave after the 6 weeks he was there. He was nearly crying. But so if you do have that interest in disability, then I would 100% recommend, yeah, definitely go into it, because as I say, it's such a satisfying job. And, you know, down the line, I probably would go back into working with people with disabilities, whether it's through sport or, you know, whether it's the, you know, minding or caring or anything like that. But the sports side of, like, I did actually my dissertation in 4th year on how physical activity helps people, helps the mental health of people with disabilities. So, you know, it just, I looked into research on how beneficial exercise was to their mental health. So, and what I got out of it obviously was that it would just help so much, and, you know, all the different areas that they loved and stuff like that. So yeah, it's definitely go and maybe do your placement in it, or, you know, get some sort of, you know, you can do volunteering and stuff like that as well with the sports partnerships. So definitely, yeah, look into that area.
Great, thanks, Katie. And I think the first question, I think, Kelvin, was about opportunities in the kind of the sports development sector. Is that right?
Yeah, it kind of ties into another question that was there as well, but it was just in terms of the exit levels at level 2, 3, and 4. What would the differences be, I suppose, and maybe David or Katie would have good knowledge of that in terms of their current roles, marking the courses and where kind of graduates have gone on as well. So in terms of exit levels at 2, 3, and 4 years, and that kind of ties into another question that we'll get onto in a second as well.
Okay. Does anybody want to come in there on that?
I think I leave that up to Katie and she's the school's liaison officer.
Or Aidan, you're kind of working in. I know you're working with a national governing body, but I know from speaking to you in the past, you've kind of worked. You did some work with your local soccer club, and you got involved that way. Maybe have you anything to add to that?
Yeah, I suppose there's probably a couple of parts to it, and it's the main thing. I suppose the main advantage that I would have had when I was going about applying for jobs after finishing college was that, I had done a huge amount of work in the voluntary sector as well with clubs and leagues, and, would have built up a lot of contacts there. And, realistically now, if you are going for a job in an NGB, you need twofold. You need one, obviously, a course, and it's a bit of a cliche, but that piece of paper to back you up. But then you also need to show you have actually gone out and, been involved in clubs or been involved in different programs, because, realistically, that's what you're going to be doing. And obviously, the theoretical knowledge is very important, but you need to show you can actually go out and work with a group or work with different stakeholders, whatever it is, looking for funding or different aspects like that. So I think that's pretty critical to use that 4 years to your advantage when, your hours might be slightly flexible, or you might be trying to juggle a part-time job or playing sport yourself. But I think it's really important to get that practical experience when you have the time, because it'll really stand to you and put your application towards the top of a pile if people know who you are, and if you show you have that practical experience as well.
Yeah. So I noticed. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I'll bring you in, David.
Sorry, I'd probably come in there just on top of that. Like, it's very you're going through 4 years and you have so much so many skills that you've learned throughout in college alone. But at the end of it, we say when you graduate, to put everything onto a CV, you won't remember everything. So what I would get in the habit of doing, constantly updating your LinkedIn profile and the importance of that, because that's even in terms in my own side of things, like the opportunities that come from my networks within LinkedIn and my actual CV, that's my LinkedIn profile. If you constantly update that, it will benefit you when you're going out and applying for the jobs.
Thanks, David. And just, I suppose it's probably worth reinforcing again for those of you who haven't got a LinkedIn profile. As David said there, look, this is the way of the world in 2020, 2021. We're probably moving away from pen and paper CVs. It's now about your online presence. I think one of our lecturers, Juna Byrne-Prior, she hosted a guest speaker this week, and the speaker was talking, I forget the lady's name now, unfortunately, it's not really my area, but she was talking about personal branding. So how you represent yourself out there as an employee, as a person, and part of the way that, one of the ways that you do that is through your LinkedIn profile. So for the students who are present, I'd strongly encourage you to have a look at that. Keep it professional. It is a social media site of a sort, but this is not where we want to see you, your images from 2 o'clock last Saturday night with the traffic cone on your head having the time of your life. This is where you present your professional self to the best of your ability. And as David said, then just keep adding your experiences. Every coaching course that you do, every seminar you attend, like this one, for example, every bit of volunteering experience, build your network, build your contacts. A couple of guys there spoke about net connections and network and the people that you know, and even through volunteering as well. And if you do connect up on, or you go into LinkedIn, connect up with me and I'll add you to the alumni group. So this initiative has all come out of the alumni group. And as I've sort of reconnected with people from the last 7 years of graduates now, I think, and seeing where everybody has gone, where everybody has ended up in their careers, has been really fascinating to see, the variety of different roles and experiences that people have had coming out of a sports management or a sports development degree. So that network, that contact of former students, of graduates, is going to be hugely important to our current students. The more you can connect, the more you can get to know them, the more they can get to know you, who you are, what you represent, what you can offer. You know, it's hugely valuable. Okay, Kelvin, any more questions coming in for us?
Yeah, there's one there from Ross. He's asking in terms of the FAI, so it's probably for Aidan. Is there any requirements in terms of level of coaching awards needed to work for the FAI?
Yeah, I suppose it probably depends specifically on what the role is. If you are looking at a coaching role or a development officer role, then you probably will be looking at a UEFA B license being the minimum requirement. Now that's pretty difficult to achieve if someone is just involved with a local club, and obviously the price of it is pretty significant as well. What typically happens quite a lot, and would have been my plan, I suppose, originally when I started working in the FAI, was a lot of people move into business roles in the association, so whether that be in marketing, communications, legal, IT, and then they move across to the football side. That would happen quite a lot. So that would be one opportunity. Then there's obviously some administration roles in the grassroots side of things that wouldn't require a UEFA B license, but it's probably the coaching course are very important. But again, that practical kind of experience of working with teams and squads is definitely the most critical part.
And Aidan, then for the business and administration side of things, would a level 8 generally be a requirement, a level 8 degree?
Yeah, typically it would be. A lot of people, the UCD Business Studies with Sports Management Masters, a lot of people that work in the association would have undertaken that after they finished their undergrad. But no, you'd be looking at a level 8 being definitely the minimum requirement.
Great, thanks, Aidan. Actually, just as you're on the screen, I remember, I think was it last year you came in and you did a guest presentation for us, and we were chatting afterwards, just before you headed away, and you threw into the conversation where you saw the future of kind of sport going. I don't know if you remember that conversation, but you think you mentioned like e-gaming and esports. Maybe, I don't know, could you develop that a little bit? Or where you think, you know, the opportunities might be in the next 5-10 years?
Yeah, it's probably even more relevant in the last 9 months, obviously, given that, you know, we don't have fans in stadia, and you've kind of seen different snippets of how, you know, digitally the game is transformed when you're seeing, you know, spectators on giant screens in stands, and hopefully that won't continue for much longer and fans return to stadia pretty quickly. But yeah, esports is, I don't know if it's something that's on the course today, but in the FAI, it's something certain an area we're looking to develop, and UEFA as well. This year they would have ran their first UEFA Euro competition, and there's some. I've actually seen a couple of good books basically explaining what esports is on Amazon that have kind of started to come about now, and it's a huge growing industry. Not saying, and I hope it doesn't eclipse or pass out the actual physical playing of the game, which obviously is the most important thing, but I think that's definitely an area where, if you can, you know, not saying people should go and specialize in one particular thing, but in terms of the future and how you see different trends developing, that's certainly an area that I think is going to explode in the next couple of years. So definitely one to watch out for.
Yeah, I can answer that question. It's not on the course at the moment. I can barely turn on my computer, never mind run an e-gaming course, unless one of the other guys is more proficient in that area, but it won't be me teaching that's for sure. Okay, so Calvin, I'm still not seeing any Q&A, so is anything else coming in?
Yeah, there's a few here. There's one liking to ask all 4 participants if they were to change one thing about their college experience, what would they do differently, and what's one piece of advice they'd give to students and how to make the most out of the course. So what they'd do differently and how to get the most out of the course.
So I see Ola smiling there, so I might bring you in here first, Ola, if that's okay.
Okay. Well, I definitely missed out on just taking up extra stuff during college year. I didn't take on, I didn't participate in different sports and stuff. Maybe in secondary school, my main sport was volleyball, and when I came to college, volleyball wasn't a big sport for LIT, so the team was very small. There was a start of it, but it never went any further than that, than few trainings, and I feel like I really regret not actually running it myself and just going for it, because I feel like I would have made a massive change. So I definitely recommend taking on stuff during the college year, not only going to college, doing assignments and just sitting, you know, like around the student accommodations and stuff, because there's more to that during college year than just, you know, the learning itself. It's the actual experience and doing stuff and, you know, getting the contacts in and, you know, just meeting people. And trust me, like being in college and meeting new people is the people for the rest of your life probably, and it's just probably going to make a massive change and really really reflect positively on your life and probably even career. You never know. So definitely, if I was going back, I'd, you know, take on stuff while I was going. So
yeah, thanks, Ola. I might just throw it in the mix there that we've never really had anybody from the sports courses involved in the Students' Union to any significant degree, and I've been sort of pushing it at that agenda for the last couple of years, and that would be a great way to sort, you know, to increase the profile of sport, non-traditional sports. We'll say, obviously, you know, LIT is associated with hurling, and that's fantastic, the success of the Fitzgibbon. And don't worry, Saoirse, I'm not dissing hurling. I'm not dissing hurling at all. But it would be nice to have a broader range, as you say, volleyball or cricket, you know, things that are, you know, what would have been called minority sports. And a great way to do that would perhaps be to kind of push the agenda through the Students' Union. So if anybody is listening today,
I'd just like to add as well,
yeah.
I feel like volleyball was such a Eastern European sport, like because I'm from Poland, like that was kind of our sport. So that's why I kind of stuck to it. But because, you know, like LIT is full of international students and stuff as well, like you never know, like there's so many different sports around the world that, you know, even introducing those sports during the college year and stuff would make a massive difference for these students that will like to get involved, you know, in that. So it's not only about us sports students, about as well, you know, like the other students, but definitely, you know, it's not all about hurling.
Exactly. And another way to make some changes might be through placement. We know, you know, we have 1 or 2 students every year who do the placement in the sports office. There's no reason why that placement couldn't become, you know, somebody who's promoting maybe individual sports, non-competitive sports, recreational activities, or as Ola says, there are sports like volleyball, you know, which are big in other countries, and you know, maybe we could raise the profile here. Okay, does anybody else want to jump in on that?
Yeah, I might just actually add one other thing, Dermot. It's probably, you know, a mistake that myself and a lot of people have made in the past, and definitely on the course. And, you know, there's probably always a huge emphasis put on the FEI, the GA, and the RFU as being, you know, the 3 big sports and kind of where everyone wants to go and work. But what I've seen and people that I've met over the years is there's great opportunities in the other sporting bodies, you know, in badminton, in cricket, in triathlon Ireland, then in some of the other ones like Special Olympics, and probably overlooked at times of the experience people can get in those organisations. Because what you'll find is in the bigger sports, you know, there'll be an IT department and a communications department and a marketing department, whereas in the smaller sporting bodies, that will probably just could be 1 or 2 people. So there's great experience to be gathered in those organisations, and you'll often find that they're not going to be as inundated for applicants and things. So it might be a good opportunity to break into the sports industry initially after you finish college.
Great, thanks, Aidan. David or Katie, have you anything to add, or have we kind of covered it for you?
Well, I'd just one thing I'd like to add would be well, one I actually wouldn't change my college experience at all. I think I got involved in everything, and I think for students that are listening, one thing that we said there was to definitely get involved, you know, but open up your context like we talked about earlier, especially with your lecturers, you know, build that friendship with them. I think is very important, because, you know, there's enough, you know, rolling up to class and going to your tutorials and whatnot, but actually building that friendship with your lecturers and with other people around the college is very important, especially when it comes to like your final year and leaving college. Because I remember even when I was going to do my my dissertation that, like, Caroline Shanley was a great help when it came to just meeting her in the corridor and getting to know that bit more advice and what role I'd go down and how to do it. And even after college, you know, just trying to figure out what I was going to do, you know, they had actually a very big influence on how I got into my school's liaison job, and, you know, everything throughout college. So building that friendship with your lecturers, I think, is very important, as well as getting you know, into all the sporting activities, you know, that you're interested in is hugely important, but definitely building them contacts while you're in college is massive.
I was going, not sure if Caroline is in the meeting or not, but I was going to throw her name in there. I'm pretty sure she knows everybody in Limerick and about half of the rest of Munster as well. So she's a great person to know.
She really is.
Yeah, so, but absolutely, you know, relationships I think in any job are important. So, you know, for the students who are here, it's at this moment in time, it's relationships with your lecturers. But then as you go out into the workforce, it becomes relationships with your colleagues, your bosses, your clients, your customers, your suppliers. You know, a lot of commerce, a lot of trade happens between people who connect, or who, you know, who have kind of shared values or shared ideas, or who just kind of get on, basically. So if you're a people person, I think you know, that goes a long way in any role, but particularly in sport, I think. Okay, Kelvin, anything else there coming in from the group?
Yeah, there's a few bits. There's a question there: what do you think the best way to build relations with the people in the sporting sector? Does a degree or master's have a difference? I think we've kind of covered that from a networking point of view. A question here: what are the differences in pathways and future opportunities after completing a 2-year level 6 sport coaching and development diploma comparing to do the level 7? I think we've kind of covered that as well, that like a lot of the NGBs in kind of sports administration and even in kind of sports development, they're looking for the level 8 as well. This is a question that hasn't been answered, one for David Reedy. How did you balance college and playing hurling with Clare as club and college in the 4 years in LIT? So I think that's probably applicable for all speakers, but we can start with David for that.
Yeah, thanks, Kelvin. I suppose it's difficult, and there's no two ways about it. That there's no point saying it's not, because you're giving so much time and energy to college. You're giving so much time and energy to, for me, it was to Clare, and then you have Fitzgibbon on top of that, and then a lot of students might have a part-time job or a weekend job. And I suppose it's balancing your time to the best of your ability, that try and set a structure around your assignments, around, we say, you know, what your college timetable during the day. Can you, instead of going home and lying on the couch, or can you get an assignment done or even started? I suppose the hardest part of doing your assignments is starting it. Once you have that first couple of words or first couple of sentences down, that's when you can go. But it's definitely time management, and we say organizing your day. And I'd even go into the detail of, like, I don't know, it might be different when a lot of students are at home and not in college, or staying in college, but your meal prep and the cooking ability, like, instead of coming home after either your long day in college and then try and cook, if you pull a night in the day, do your 3 or 4 days meal prep, and then it's just into the microwave, and it relieves about at least an hour and a half between cooking, cleaning up, and then eating. And I think just organize, like, people don't realize, or students don't realize how much time they have. And I suppose if you go into your phone and go to your screen time, like, it could be very dangerous to see how much time you're actually spending on your phone. And if you even cut that down to half, 2 or 3 hours a day, compared to some people it could be 6 or 7, to mount more free time that'll get for yourself is massive. And I just like to add, like what Ola said, was to pick up anything you can, get involved in your sports or the extra activities outside of college. And I suppose you don't realize how much time you have until you actually go into the workforce, and how busy you get, even how tired you get in the evenings. You actually have so much time in college, and if you pick them up in college, when you go working, it's an easier transition to keep the extra activities up.
Dermot, I'd actually just like to add in there as well. Just one thing my 4th year lecturers probably know about me was, like, so I obviously juggled the county and the college as well. But in 4th year, I was actually told by one of my college students one of my friends, we were very good pals, but he told me that there was no way that I was going to get a first class honours degree because I just wouldn't be able to manage everything, and you know that I just didn't have the capabilities, really, is the way he went about it. But you know, we laughed it off. And when fourth year came, I said to him, I telling you now, I said, I'm going to get a first class honours degree. And throughout that year, I remember even having a conversation with Caroline that she told me that I needed to come to class more, that I wasn't going to get it if I didn't come to class more. And, you know, because I was juggling work and college and everything. And then eventually, I remember I put my head down and I juggled, you know, getting my exam questions done. If anyone's in fourth year, you know, just doing them exam questions for me was critical, just going over and over and over them, and just really putting my head down, you know. And then in the evening time, having the time for the sport. But during the day, especially, you know, getting that morning session done, having your lunch, getting that evening session done, I'd be a terror for the naps before my training, and then going to training. But then when the results came out, is it September they come out, but I got my first class honours degree, and it was the first thing I did was I rang the fellow who said that I wouldn't get it, and just to, you know, say that I could do it and I could juggle everything. So it is possible, you know, to keep your sport and to keep your academic side up, and it's all about balance and juggling. And if you balance that properly, you'll be happy and you won't be stressed. It's just about management. That's really all it is, managing your time.
Yeah, and it can be difficult in, you know, you've come out of secondary school where you are basically herded and told where to go, you know, where to sit, raise your hand, don't raise your hand, speak up, don't speak up. You know, you're kind of treated like a child still in secondary school. You come in here into the third level and we say to you now, you know, it's all about critical thinking and in being independent. You've got to manage your own time. And if you're not in class, you know, sorry, I should take you off, Katie. If you're not in class, we're not going to come chasing you. And it's a big transition, and we do appreciate that. So when we talk about time management, it is a skill, and we don't expect you to be the finished product in first year, but hopefully by the end of fourth year, you will have, you know, fine-tuned some of those skills. And I think it is true to say that you'll probably never have as much time again as you do right now in college, because, you know, real life demands will kick in, and, you know, work and, you know, all the other mortgages and families and all the other stuff that happens when you leave here. You'll realize that, oh God, I wish I was back in college again, like I do. Okay, I'm conscious Aidan has to head away in a moment, so any final question for Aidan there, Kelvin?
Not really. There was one about the FAI coaching badges again, asking, does the college hold or subsidise the National C or D licenses? I know that we do the Kickstart ones, but I don't think that they're subsidised for C and D license. But Aidan can come in if he knows any more information on those.
Yeah, I wouldn't know specifically whether they're subsidised, and, you know, oftentimes, if you get involved with a good club that are quite proactive and interested in coaching development, then, you know, they might be willing to contribute towards the cost of them if you're obviously involved in different teams. So that could be one avenue to explore. I might just actually revert back to one of the previous questions about how people can enhance their college experience and make the most out of it. One thing that I found quite useful was utilising projects, and particularly your FYP, in regards to what sport or what career you might be wishing to pursue. And Dermot, you'll probably remember the FYP that I did on the League of Ireland supporter experiences. And when I went for my first job interview in the FAI, I actually took that with me to the interview and gave it over to the interviewers. So make sure you utilize them. And also what you can do in the 4 years is, you know, maybe get involved with a club or a different organization, because oftentimes they won't have the expertise on committees or subgroups in the club to maybe, you know, develop a strategic plan or other areas like that, and they'll only be crying out for people to get involved. So definitely utilize them as much as possible, and don't just, you know, the first idea that comes into your head, just go with it. Definitely think it out a bit more and see, you know, can there be any sort of long-term you know, progress for this, or how can you utilize it in the future when you're going about looking for a job?
Yeah, well, I think I supervised your final year project, Aidan. And one of the things that stood out for me was your passion for the topic that you had selected. So you were interested in what you were studying, and I can't emphasize that enough for people who are coming up to their FYP or or thinking about it for the future. Do something you're interested in doing, and it will be a lot easier for you. And I think you might be too modest to say, but I'm pretty sure you got a first out of that, didn't you?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, and well merited. But again, it came from having an interest and a passion in the area, and that I still have it in my drawer here. Show the students. Well, we will do when we're back in normal times. We can actually meet up physically again. Aidan, listen, I'm conscious you have to head away, so thank you very much for your time and connecting back up with us again, and hopefully talk to you again soon.
Yeah, thanks, Dermot. And look, if anyone wants to reach out, just get me on LinkedIn, or you can pass on my email if they have any queries. Happy to talk to anyone.
Great. Thanks a million, Aidan.
Okay. Cheers.
Take care. Okay, so Kelvin, anything else coming in?
Yeah.
Anything around, say, the management, business, accountancy side?
Well, there's just kind of a general question here in terms of any of the organisations, if they have opportunities for graduates on a yearly basis. So I suppose in terms of the accountancy side, do they take in people on a yearly basis would be a good question.
Okay. Ola, I don't know if you were able to answer that, but...
Well, not with us anyways, because I obviously work for a very small practice, but like Grad Ireland is so good for it. Like every year they have different opportunities. Like when I was still in college, when I was doing the course, and I was literally following it every year, and I was applying for all these grad programs and stuff. So they're very good for it, especially like if you are going towards that finance accountancy side. And the big companies, the big four like EY or Northern Trust or even Deloitte and stuff, every year they're looking for people, and I think it's a great, like if you really have the interest in it, like I would go in, try with the placement. Don't leave it till last minute until you're in fourth year and you're applying then, because this is kind of like a 50-50 chance with those, because we are such a small course, let's say, like we actually have no exemptions in this field. So you need to really go ahead of yourself and apply much more earlier than just when you're graduating. It's literally just few questions and stuff. It's just application forms, but it's really handy. And like I do recommend, if you are going down that route, to get a head start when you're in third year, and especially placement, and just getting into that. Because as I said, we are a sports course. It's very hard to get into a job like this with a sports degree. So I definitely would have been looking around into a small practice, because it's the same thing. Well, not the same thing, but in a small practice you get all the experience. You're going to learn more. You're going to have, people actually helping you. Whereas in the big company, you're kind of like, yeah, we'll help you, but you're kind of left on your own. So they do throw you into deep water and stuff. But it's definitely worth the try, and it's definitely worth the experience and stuff. And that's when you will realize that there is different opportunities in finance and in accountancy, not only just doing whatever you see in college and all these day bookkeeping and stuff. Like it's more like advanced and stuff. So that's all I can really say.
Yeah. But thanks, Ola. I suppose I should just acknowledge that this year I'm coordinating the placement module for both groups of third years, and I think it's particularly challenging this year for students who want to go into an accountancy placement or say an office-based placement, because a lot of them are being rebuffed. Companies don't want to take on placement students for various reasons. They're not sure what the future is going to hold, whether they're going to be working remotely. They may be worried about people coming into the office and spreading viruses and so on. I don't know exactly the reason, but a lot of students are being knocked back and told that it's just not an option this year. So look, hopefully that will change in the next couple of months. For the placement students who are here and are kind of a bit frustrated hearing what Ola has to say and not having those opportunities this year. Remember, the placement runs until the end of August, and you just have to do your hours by then. So look, we're hearing now about vaccines, and we're hearing that there's light at the end of the tunnel, and maybe hopefully opportunities will open up in the next couple of months for people who are very determined to go in that route. But if anybody present has any opportunities, feel free to contact me, and I will certainly pass them on. Okay, Kelvin, anything?
No, I think we're back. We're at the end of all the questions today, anyway.
Okay, all right. So what we'll do is, let me share that there. All right, so maybe just to kind of wrap up, then we'll give everybody a just kind of a final chance to sum up and maybe talk to us about, if you could, that horrible question, not where you see yourself in 5 years' time, but if you could, go back to yourself, first, second, third year in college, travel back in time, what would you tell yourself? What would you, one thing that you would like to do differently, one thing that you would like to do better, perhaps. David, let's throw you into deep water there.
Yeah, I suppose the one piece of advice I'd probably give is embrace my time in college, because you don't wish that after 4 years you're done with education, because 99.9% of you will, when you get into a job, you will be going down doing part-time courses, depending what you do. But once fourth year comes and you graduate, education isn't done, and that might scare some of you, but even small courses at the moment I'm doing a leadership and management course. Again, it's a 1 year part-time one, and it's just to put onto the CV again for when you're in a job, to get a promotion or to show that you want to learn about something, that you're able to take over a project fully, and it's just something nice to have on your CV. It's just that extra step that someone else won't have, so just embrace your time in college would be my bit of advice.
Yeah, it flies by. It goes by so quickly. Okay, Katie, have you anything?
Yeah, college definitely, it definitely flies by. You do not see the years. Even though I did 5 years, they absolutely flew. And one thing I would tell myself, like we talked about earlier, is them social media platforms are so important, especially the likes of LinkedIn. In fairness, myself and David we always had each other's backs throughout college, when it was getting into the masters and the job. But when it came to the social media side of things with LinkedIn and stuff, I never really updated my LinkedIn until this year, I'd say, and still at that, it needs a good going over. So as David was saying earlier, your social media platforms are so important, just because if you can keep building on them platforms as you're going through your college, companies will be looking at it when you're posting and looking for jobs. That's what companies, they look for. If you're a hooligan on your social media platforms, it's not going to come across, great if a company is really searching into you. So definitely just be aware of your social media platforms, and come across, especially on the likes of LinkedIn and stuff like that, that you have your professional side as well as your fun and interactive side, but you also have your professional side as well. So that's definitely one thing I would definitely look into. And also the I don't know if the digital course is still there, the digital module, Dermot. Bernie had us.
Yeah, digital media, I think, is it?
Yeah, so that is, I would highly recommend, if I could go back and do that module again, I definitely would, because I definitely didn't focus in enough on that module when it was being undertaken when I was doing it. That module especially is so important, because everything is online, everything's on, we're all on computers here today, and it's just about getting to know, whether it's WordPress and getting to write a blog, you will need these things. You mightn't think it now, but you will need these things as you finish college and going into your sporting or your business side of your career. That module especially is so important, just to make sure you're up to speed on the digital side of things.
Great stuff, Katie. Thanks very much. So I'll come to Ola now, and Ola, maybe sorry, 1 second. You might just answer that as well, but maybe touch on, given you're in, say, the accountancy sector, did you have to interview for your job as well? And maybe talk a little bit about the interview experience.
I did. The interview wasn't too hard. It's just because I was obviously going into placement, so it was just basic questions and stuff. But when you actually advance into the bigger companies and stuff, they do get harder. And especially now, as far as I'm aware, there is these intelligence tests going on and stuff before they actually take you on to interview. So the questions can be anything. They can ask, it just depends on the company really. They can ask you about your knowledge, they can ask you about your experience, they can just ask what kind of a person you are and stuff. So it's a really hard question to ask at this moment, you know, because everything is changing, especially because of the COVID and stuff now. There is a completely different process of recruitment. Even from myself, like following LinkedIn, like I've been actually, like as Katie said, like the digital media module was so important in college, I feel like as well. But that's when I kind of woke up. I was like, yeah, I should kind of pay more attention to social media. And since Bernie showed us LinkedIn, since I've been actually running my own, you know, my LinkedIn profile. And I've noticed, like, I followed like all these recruitment companies and like the big financial companies and stuff, so I can kind of see and follow what they're looking for, what like their process is like. You know, it's just kind of following their social media more than anything else to see what they're expecting and, you know, what they're actually going to be like at the interviews. And
yeah, and for young Ola, any advice?
I don't know. It's a hard question for me.
Yeah.
I feel like whatever the young Ola back then had decided to do up to now, like, I think this is the best decision I have made. You know, like, I think just focusing on one thing and just going with my gut that, okay, this is what I'm good at. This is what I actually like. This is what I want to do. So I think that's fine. You know, like, whatever I have chosen is fine.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's got you to where you are right now. So
yeah, so
you must have done some things right. Yeah, and I would reiterate that point about, you know, continuing professional development. Even in college, you have free time to do additional courses, whether it's sports related, coaching, development, and so on, or whether you want to gravitate more towards, you know, marketing or leadership or anything like that. I mean, even as lecturers, I mean, Kelvin, Sorsha, Mary, and myself, we're all continuing to do professional development. We're all, you know, either involved or we're going to be involved in research through PhDs and so on. So as David said, it's something that, you know, you never get to the point where you are done. There's always something new to know. There's always something new to learn. You can always improve. You know, you can always challenge yourself, and it's good to keep the brain active as well. So, Kelvin, are there any more questions that have come in from the students?
Yeah, there's a couple here. Albeit I'm in second year at the moment. Students on the community sports development course for third year are starting placement in January. Any advice for the current situation? And then there's another one. What would you recommend in minority sports to help spread awareness?
Okay, so the first one was advice for placement students who are starting in January. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody have any opinions on that? I suppose, look, maybe as the coordinator, you know, somebody who's been working on the placement module for a few years. Look, this is personal opinion, but I think the placement module, I mean, the guy spoke about the digital media module being so important. I personally think the placement module might be the most important module on the 4 years of the course. So for those of you who maybe were in first and second year aren't fully aware, after Christmas now, the third years in both courses will go out on placement for 9 months. So, you know, they'll have their exam next week, and then that's it until September 2021. So they have to do 600 hours of industry relevant work experience. So as long as we can link it in some way to the course that you're doing. So on the sports management program, it could be in finance, it could be in sales, it could be in customer service, it could be in marketing, it could be with one of the governing bodies of sport, it could be with disability sport. With the sports development crew, it's slightly more focused on just the sports sector, obviously. So what I'm finding this year is, for those who want to kind of go into coaching, development, you know, practical sports side of things, grassroots sport, there are plenty of opportunities out there. There are opportunities with Camogie, with Limerick GAA, with you know, Nevsdale Water Sports. There's you know, local sports partnerships. They're all taking people on. As I said, where the challenges are this year is in office-based work. However, I expect that to kind of revert back to normality, hopefully sometime in 2021. David, Katie, or Ola, do you want to talk about your experiences on placement, or have you kind of covered everything that you want to say?
Well,
sorry.
I think when I started placement, I was nervous because I didn't know if, you know, like, I had to be working in an office. I didn't know what it was going to be like and stuff. But I just went along with it. I really enjoyed it. I really worked my ass off. I showed that I wanted to learn. And then when it came to end of my placement, I got offered to stay on. So I just want to say that if you are putting in effort in your placement, you have a massive chance to be asked to stay on and, you know, like grow within the company and get the opportunity to, you know, to build your career. Like from me being an accounts assistant, I am now a trainee chartered accountant. So like it's a massive jump for me from even like what I, you know, just you have just put in the effort. Like as Dara said, like the placement is very important, and I feel like another positive thing that I think about choosing this course was the actual placement. When I seen that on the detail of the course, I was like, I need this. I need work experience. I think every course in college, any college should have work experience, because this is where you start off your career. It's so important. So that's all I'm going to add.
Thanks, Ola. Yeah, and I would, you know, as I've kind of been, I'll bring David back in a second, but I've been doing placement visits for a few years now, and it's my favorite part of my role here is going out to employers and hearing 99.99% of the time the positive feedback. And everybody, you know, employer, you know, we don't call them employers, we call them host companies now. But your work placement supervisor telling us how amazing you all are, proactive, flexible, hardworking. And I'm not exaggerating. These are, I would say, 99% of the time the feedback is positive. It's so rare to hear a negative comment, and that's a fantastic reflection on you know, the students who have passed through the course, but also the current students as well. And it's something that, you know, isn't necessarily it doesn't necessarily occur in other institutions, universities that, you know, are not a million miles away from us, shall we say. Our students tend to be flexible and proactive and willing to work hard and willing to engage and willing to learn. And that's hugely beneficial from a potential employer's perspective. And it's not unusual, as Ola said there, to get a job offer. I've literally had employers running out after me as I was leaving a placement visit saying, is there any chance I could just give them a job now? And they don't do the fourth year. I mean, that's no exaggeration. That has happened a few times. So no, they went back and they finished their fourth year, thankfully. But it's a huge opportunity to get your foot in the door, to get known, to build your relationships, build your network, and to get that work experience, as Ola said. Okay, David, I'll let you back in there.
Yeah, just on the point of work experience, like as you said, it's a difficult time, but if you don't have work experience at the moment, like I'd use your contacts, your network already. Is there someone you play on a sports team with that own a small business? Does your parents know someone that owns a small business? Have a look at their online presence. Do they have a social media account, an Instagram account? And if they don't, can you draft up a draft kind of plan of maybe 3 months of how you might improve it, and talk to them that way? So it might be a direct placement, but it could be a couple of hours just to get you experience, but also it benefit the small business massively as well, especially with the times we're in, that they might have an Instagram account. Can you create an Instagram account, show them what you'd post, how to promote their products or their business? And it's something so small, but if they see that it might make a difference to them, they might just take on the advice and even just bring you in for a couple of hours a week.
Yeah, 100%. Like, as you said, David, the amount of people who come in here and meet me, or we meet online now, and I'll say, who is in your network? What does your dad do or your mom do? I don't really know. They work in an office somewhere. They could be the owner or a high level manager in there. And it hasn't struck people. Just go and talk to people that you know, your siblings, your family members, your extended family. As you say, the people on a sports team. That guy who's the handy corner forward might be, owner of a chain of supermarkets or something. And think about what a business is. A business isn't just, a business can be a supermarket. A business can be selling. The product doesn't matter. It's the process that you're learning, and it's the experience of the office environment that you're getting. It doesn't matter if you're selling custard creams or if you're selling tickets to a stadium. It doesn't matter what the product is. It's about your experience in that business and getting what you want out of it. So 100%.
I'd also I'd just like to add that, I know it's a big deal where, I remember when I was looking for placement and it was a kind of a thing where, you wanted to get paid for it. But it was actually, now I didn't get paid for my placement, but it was actually only afterwards, that I understood that volunteering is a massive part to, what you get out after. So I got offered, after I did my placement, loads of work at the Limerick Sports Partnership after as well. So just like Ola said there, working your ass off during the placement is so important to do, whether it's paid or unpaid, because it will benefit you after you finish your placement. It all comes back to help you out. So that's all I just had to add in there.
Yeah, and definitely volunteering is so important. It just reminds me, when I started back in LIT, we actually used to teach a subject called volunteering. I don't know if Gordon is still on the call. He might be there somewhere in the background, but I remember Gordon being very annoyed in class one day going, what the hell are we going to do in volunteering for a whole year? And I don't know, somehow we muddled through, but thankfully we don't teach that subject anymore. Okay, maybe Kelvin, have we got maybe one last question to finish up? Because I'm conscious of we've taken up a lot of the guys' time.
Yeah, there's just two last ones. One, I'd say you could answer, Dermot, in terms of someone that wants to branch into like a medical career, like paramedics. Could you do placement in a medical style location? And then the other one is to do with minority sports. What would the speakers? What would their advice be to kind of spread awareness for minority sports, and what would be effective?
Okay, so I'll just deal briefly with the question about placement. So the criteria that I look at, well, the main criteria is your work placement, is it connected to the course in some way? So the line is a little bit dodgy, Kelvin. I wasn't sure what the role was. Was something in medical sales, was it?
No, a paramedic.
Paramedics, okay. Yeah, look, if somebody came to me and they wanted to be, they wanted to train as a paramedic and they wanted to get their work placement, and they were able to get a placement as a paramedic, then I don't think I would have any issue kind of approving that. I think it would meet the criteria of the module. But we'd have to discuss the specifics at the time. But yeah, I'd certainly be open to that idea for sure. And the second part of the question again?
Was to do with minority sports to help spread awareness.
Okay, how to spread awareness of minority sports. So I don't know, David or Katie or Ola, from a volleyball perspective, any thoughts on that, or is that your area of expertise?
Yeah, I can jump in there. I suppose the biggest thing I'd be seeing from that is be proactive. Is there a reason you want to do it? And then have a plan, create a plan on how you want to do it. And I think this question probably jumps up at the right time for me, because we said back in January, I started off a Camogie podcast called Women's Hurling. I suppose the reason I did it because I seen I'm friends with Katie for I don't know how long, but I seen the effort that her and her teammates, we say from every county, put into the sport, and what they get compared to what we get, and not even benefits, but like Camogie inter-county players are out of pocket to drive to training, and if you compare that to the men's game, we're probably up money if we drive training through expenses. So the effort that they put in, the effort that we put in, it's very, very similar, but the recognition that they get out of it is next to none. So I suppose that's where the idea that came to promote Camogie came from, and then we did surveys and we talked to present and past players of what they wanted from Camogie, and we have the figures, but I think there was 85 or 90% of them wanted it to be the same rules as the men's game, and it was the kind of reason why do you want that, because they're equal and because they're putting in the same effort. As I said, the skill of the games have gone up dramatically in the last 5-6 years, and it's very similar to the men's game. Like everyone was raving about Joe Canning scoring 4 sidelines the weekend, and I'd say 3 weeks ago another Galway player, Rebecca Henley, scored 2 sidelines as well, and there was a fraction of the promotion from the Camogie side of things to the hurling side of things. So it's being proactive. If you believe in it and creating a plan around it and how you want to achieve it, and how, and then not only creating the plan but actually going and implementing the plan. So at the moment, like the inter-county camogie games were streamed. There would be 600 people on average watching a streamed camogie game. Where we offer the podcast on a Monday after every weekend of games, and there's about 1,000 views. So in big terms, we say compared to a GA side of things, it's probably very small. But if you compare that onto the camogie market, 1,000 views is actually massive. Like we think we're penetrating the market to the best we can, and like we have plans for next year on how to expand that even further. So I suppose being proactive and going doing something about it. There's no point just whinging about the promotion of a minority sport or the promotion of a sport. You have to go and do something about it.
David, I think you said that to me in class in third year. I don't know if you remember. We were talking about, I don't know, something about opportunities for kind of master sports or something like that, and you put your hand up and went, well, why don't you do something about it? So I went,
yeah.
Oh, okay, fair point. So good,
Jeez, you have a good memory, because I actually remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was a fair comment, and I kind of went away and, yeah, okay, I can't argue with that. Just setting up the podcast, was that difficult? How did you go about doing that?
We say back in January when we were going about of how to do it, there was quite a bit of an expense that we seen. It was about it, like we were getting someone in to basically record it and to put it out onto the various platforms, Spotify, iTunes. So we were prepared to take that hit, but then I suppose the pandemic kind of arrived and everything went online. And I suppose it was the best thing for us that we figured out we could produce it through Zoom, and it was quite easy to put up through Anchor and another platform to put up onto the listening platforms. So if I suppose if the COVID didn't happen, we would probably been down €1,000 straight away before even producing one episode. But through COVID, through what we got, or the learnings we got off in the workplace through our Microsoft Teams, through meetings, through Zoom, recording Zoom like you're recording today, it actually made our life quite easy to produce the show. And then we were lucky enough to get a sponsor on board, so we didn't cost us anything, and we're putting any of the money that we're getting out of it, we're putting back into it. And the players, again, we did another survey just before the league. The players seem to have bought into as well, that they're delighted that it's not just the usual or whoever scored the points comment on them how good they were. We're actually analysing each game. We're getting to go to games and we're tactically analysing the games which players want.
Brilliant. What's it called again? Give yourself another plug.
Women's hurling.
Women's hurling. Okay.
You can find any of the social media platforms, iTunes, Spotify, etc.
Brilliant. Thanks, David. Okay, guys. Will we finish up there? I think we're gone for about an hour and a half. So,
yeah,
Kelvin, unless anything else urgent has come in.
Yeah, there's just one last question there. It's an anonymous question, but someone has asked, is there any option to do any form of teaching course after kind of our courses, the sports and business management or the community sports development? And I know we have had a couple of graduates, haven't we, Dermot, that have gone on to do the postgraduate in business teaching? We
have. No, so this is part of the reason why I've set up the alumni group on LinkedIn, is to try and figure out where everybody has gone. So in terms of, I presume this is postgraduate maybe in PE teaching. That tends to be what most people are interested in. There is a PME, Professional Masters in Education, in the University of Limerick. Now you have to apply to them, and they make the decision as to who gets in. As far as I know, we have one former student, a guy called Gary, who's in there at the moment. So what we're hoping to do early next year is maybe connect up with Gary and see what his experiences are of getting into that PME and how he has found it so far. And that's one of the reasons why I was talking to David about the podcast, because myself and Calvin, we've spoken about setting up a podcast of our own. I doubt we'd be hitting your numbers, David, but just to kind of reconnect with our former students and to see where they're going. So we've had a couple of other, I think Cathal McInerney might be teaching as well, David, isn't he?
He is, yeah.
Yeah, I think he might have got in through UL. And we've had a couple who've gone to do PE courses in the UK as well. Again, I don't know at this stage which colleges they've gone to. I don't know exactly where they're working. They're just on LinkedIn at the moment, but that's part of the research that we will be doing over the next couple of months. And as soon as we find out more information, we'll pass it on to our current crew. But given that PE is now part of the senior cycle curriculum, we definitely see opportunities for our students in that sector, and it's something we'll be investigating ourselves as to how what our offering might be here in LIT or AIT LIT, as it will be from September onwards. I think we're done. Okay, guys. David, Katie, Ola, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
You've been absolutely brilliant to come back. Your engagement, your answers have been fantastic. It's lovely to see you all again. Katie and David, I see you around a bit, but to the others, and Aidan earlier on. Gordon and James, I don't know if you're still on the line. If not, but thank you for at least making the effort, and to all our participants, to everybody who's come along today. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got something out of it, and let's do it again next year.
Thanks very much.
Thanks a million.
Thanks everybody. Take care.
Bye.
Bye bye.